Hello, and welcome to Module 3. We are dealing with ethics, values, and reason in this module. So in Module 1, you learned what ethics and morality, what they're all about. And you also learned that there are several theories collectively known as minimalist theories, and these theories purport to know what is good and what is right, but we were able to successfully expose the defects of these theories. And so we moved on to Module 2, Moral Development. We asserted that moral beings, we as human beings, no, we are capable of going beyond minimalist uh, handling of moral issues and ethical problems because we are biologically, psychologically primed to advance, given, of course, the right environment and optimal exposure to moral dilemmas that should uh, train us and, in effect, provide us with opportunities to challenge our deep-seated beliefs about morality. So having said that, we now proceed with Module 3. And the primary issue that has to be resolved in this module is whether or not values influence our moral deliberation. Of course, offhand, the answer is sure, definitely. Our values, which means beliefs that we have been holding on to, usually since we were young, affect the way that we will advance morally, no, or even ethically, no? So in practice or in theory. So how does this happen? Well, I'd like to talk about this by putting together what you have read. No? One from Mabakiao on Filipino philosophy, two, the one on Filipino values by Hinig, and the three, the chapter on moral value by E.J. Bond. No? And I have this framework in front of you to sort of put together all the ideas in these three readings. Now, together with the insights that you have gained from the activity, the first activity in this module, I'd like you to think about the relationship between values, reason, and well, morality. No? And we started this module by asking you to think of your favorite food. No? And I said that the way that we think of our favorite food reflects our values. No? What do we value? And these values, because they are abstract, highly abstract, are concretized by reasons. So why do we choose a particular food? Because of a particular reason. And that reason normally is a manifestation of a value. No? In the sphere of morality, the same is true. Why do you obey your parents or grandparents' counsel? Well, because you have a reason. And your reason normally uh, is influenced by your value. No? So let's give a more concrete example. What reason would you have to follow your father or your mother? Well, you'd say you think that you should. No, you think that you should. That's your reason. I think that I should follow or obey what my mom tells me to do. Now, regardless, we're not talking about the moral status of that reason. We're just saying that is the reason, and that reason is a reflection, a clear reflection of your value, which is what? Well, maybe filial piety or some form of respect for the family. Because unless you have that value, then you don't have any care whatsoever for obeying your mother. So values, no matter how abstract they are concretized by our reason. And this reason is, of course, normally what is easily accessible to us when we make moral deliberations. Now, from the activity that we had, it was very clear that when it comes to non-moral choices and actions, our choices of what to eat, where to eat, what clothes to wear, what color of wallpaper you want for your room, these non-moral choices. Normally, the reason for our non-moral choices is the universal value of eudaimonia, or just like what I said, Aristotle's notion of uh, well, the rough translation is happiness, no? But you might say that a more sophisticated translation is a state of contentment, no? A state where you wouldn't want something else, no? But for our purposes, we can probably utilize happiness, no? And our non-moral choices and actions are normally motivated by or caused by, no, our our universal value of eudaimonia. No, and I think that's very easy to see, no? Bakit gusto mong kainin ay yung paborito mo? Because it makes you happy. Why do you choose a particular pair of shoes? Because the pair of shoes reflects your taste, and therefore it makes you happy. But when it comes to moral choices, it's a lot more complicated, according to Bond. No, our reason is not directly happiness. Most of the time, if not all the time, our reason is the common good. We realize that our moral actions, that's why they're moral, because they impact other people. No, an action or a decision will never be moral in the absence of any other entities in the world. No, and when you think about it, the very field of ethics would not have existed if not for the very fact that we are all in a polis. Well, of course, in the Greek city-state, polis, no? Or in other words, we live with other people. If not for the fact that there are other human beings around us, then probably ethics would not have been conceived. So moral choices, ethical choices are usually motivated by our notion of the common good, no? Well, because we think that it's what is best for everybody given a particular situation. Kaya nga, a minimalist would simply think that so long as an action does not inflict pain or hurt anybody, okay na. No, that's the minimalist, one version of a minimalist perspective. Kasi nga, the very core of our notion of morality is common good, no? But this common good, according to Bond, is definitely simply instrumental to a more rudimentary motivation or reason. And this reason is still eudaimonia. So in effect, using an Aristotelian framework, we see that every action that we make, every decision that we take are motivated by our eudaimonia, our own eudaimonia. And as such, no, if we follow this framework, then we can see that there is a chance to come up with universal moral system or universal morality, in effect, no, that against the framework of cultural relativism, subjectivism, egoism, and even religion, no, we can agree to some extent that there is a common morality that that overrides all other minimalist theories, no, and this universal morality is something that allows for the common good of everybody, and thus leading to each human being's attainment of eudaimonia. Now, of course, the problem here is that we find in reality that different people have different values. No, at least prima facie, people have different values. People have different notions of sometimes no notions of what's right and what's wrong. No, and here we try to understand this using the two texts, no, Hinig's text on Filipino values and Mabakiao's text on Filipino philosophy. And in these two texts, Mabakiao ultimately asserting that a philosophy is Filipino if it emanates from a consciousness of a Filipino. Yun lang naman yung point niya doon, no? He argued by taking a look at other possibilities that philosophy is Filipino if it emanates from a Filipino consciousness. Hinig, on the other hand, was simply exploring the different frameworks available during that time, no, and tried to offer his own, no. But even his framework, I don't know how you feel about it, but my reading is the framework itself is not conclusive. Precisely because in the same article, Hinig already articulated the very amorphous nature of Filipino values. And so, having said these things, no, these 2 points, no, in the 2 articles, we come up with these uh, additional input in our framework. The cultural values and philosophy, no, ibig sabihin, kagaya ng Filipino value system, should only be relevant if they are for the common good. No, in one of the sections of Hinig's article, there was a mention that possibly even Filipino values are anchored on universal values. And this should not be surprising because Filipinos, Chinese, Americans, whatever, no, we are all human beings. And it is our common humanity that binds us as moral beings. It is not our being a Filipino or being a Asian or being a Westerner that makes you moral. It is your being a human being that makes you a moral being. And so cultural values and philosophy should only be relevant if they are for the common good. No? And that's what we're saying. And if they are for the common good, then just like all our moral choices, they are geared towards the attainment of eudaimonia. So what are we saying now towards the end of this module? Well, we can say that the moral values are to be reconciled with our cultural values and philosophy for as long as these cultural values and philosophy are supportive of our universal claim to common good. Okay? I'm sure you have a lot of questions at this point, no? But I'm also aware that watching videos can bore you. And so I invite you to process this and write down your questions. And during our synchronous session, I will be very happy to discuss these questions with you. Okay, thank you and see you.